recording
I
officially.
hate that.
It's so intrusive. That's why I've started doing it like before now, because I'm like, ew. But now, hello YouTube. This is a little behind the scenes, some BTS, and now I'm gonna let in the people of the world. I usually just greet the voice actors of the universe. Oh my gosh, I'm letting Tony in. Hey everybody. I usually like sing a song. I've been trying to like I don't know what's on everybody's minds right now. I'm out of love. I'm so lost without. Hey John, what's up? It's great to see you. Yes, Alexis with the daisies. Okay, my people, come on in. I'm clicking the entrance of the thing. My powers are great. Hello, James. What's up, Howard? Yes, we've got the UK in the house. We've got Jamaica in the house. Hello. Hello, Getty's great to see you. Donna, welcome, welcome. All right, Yaya is back. She's inside this time. Or is it Yaya? Or is it like Yaya or like Yaya? The second one? The first one. She's gonna. Last time she was outside. Come on in, everybody. Welcome to our voiceover Ask Me Anything session. Great to see you all. Hey, Luke, what's up? I've got Adrian. I've got Stephanie. Welcome. Hey, Eric. Nice beard. Okay, Dina is here with a watermark, my people. New update from Dina. Filtered Zoom. Oh, I was gonna filter myself for you guys today. I'm going to give you this little flower situation. Yeah, you love to see it. Okay, yeah, Dina, that's really cool. Are you doing OBS right now? Is that how you're doing that? No, something else? Okay. Okay, but James's background is his branding. Yes. Professional voiceover talent. Okay, Jim, we love to see that. Welcome. That's wonderful. What is up? Come on in. This is great. Okay, Ecamm Live. All right. We got Todd. Todd, it's good. We haven't seen you. No, I feel like I haven't seen you, but it's been 2 weeks. What do I know? Oh my gosh, we got Dave coming in from Portland. Okay. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon on the East Coast, this morning on the West, this evening across the pond, as we like to say. And for my friends in Jamaica, where are you guys? What time is it over there? Do I have Hong Kong in the house? Last time I did. I don't know. Okay. Whatever time it is, I'm so happy that you're here with us. You can let us know where you are in the chat. You can give us hellos. Okay, Cleon's here. Cleon will tell us what time it is. Okay, great. So welcome to, been trying to get, yeah. Welcome to our Ask Me Anything session here at Edge Studio. We're kind of like, I'm doing a little like, I'm acting like it's a lazy Friday, but it's actually Thursday. We're not supposed to do happy hour yet, unless, I don't know, Howard, is it past happy hour over there? Oh, by the way, if you haven't noticed, David's not here for this half of the session. He might pop in later, but when the cat's away, mice will play. Okay. Woo! Okay, what's up? All right, Cleon. Hey, my darling. Welcome, welcome. Are you tapped into audio yet? I hope so. Dave, yes. Great to see you. Okay, great. Okay, Tim, great. Wonderful. I got all my people. I've missed you all dearly. Let's rock and roll. So, here we go. We're doing our 33rd session of Ask Me Anything. I'm so happy to see you all once again here at Edge Studio. We've been doing these bi-weekly for, the beginning of time till the end of time. I don't know. What is time? What is space? How are you? I'm having coffee. I'm doing well. What's up? Okay. And so what we do here is we talk about all things voiceover. If you have questions about, I don't know, love advice, we don't have that for you. Okay. If you need car advice, we definitely don't have that for you. That might even be traumatic for our guest star. Okay. So let's not talk about that. um, but it definitely feels like it should be Friday. Thank you, Stephanie, for emails. Have a great weekend. You know what? We're all vibing on the pulse. I really appreciate that. So, yes, and I am so excited today because I promised you, or I alluded to a special treat a couple weeks ago, and then we brought it into fruition. We do have with us Amy. It's so good to see you. Welcome. I'm happy you're here. We do have with us Joanne Boreham, casting director. She is teaching a sold out class with us in animation audition. So that is right, my lovers of all things video games, animation, cartoon. Yes, we're seeing applause in the squares. We're raising the roof in the squares. Uh, yeah, what a special gift for us today to talk about this thing that is kind of mysterious in the VO universe. Oh, Luke, you're so kind. Thank you for that compliment in the chat. Yeah, tell us where you're joining us from. John is in Brooklyn. And okay, what time, Cleon, you need to tell us what time it is in Jamaica because I don't know. And I could look it up, but you're going to let me know, and that'll be great. This really is interesting. Oh, yes, and we've got animators in the house, 12 p.m. Oh, perfect. Okay. That's my thing. Great. So Joanne is joining us. It's super special. It's such a gift. Anna, we're just gonna start out. I just want to begin by just having Joanne tell us her origin story and how she got, the Marvel superhero adventure. Oh wow, that's on brand. Yes. Okay. For
Never done anything with Marvel. But,
the animation universe.
yeah,
And yeah, so just your origin stories, and you are joining us from Canada, am I right?
you are right. I'm in Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah, we got
I
that
don't know if I can match
healthcare.
her energy, you guys. My goodness. It's like you open the box and a whirling dervish came out.
Yeah, oh, I love the whirling dervish. um, yeah, so we could give Up Twinkle's Jazz Fingers. We'll pretend we're doing an applause intro for Joanne at our panelists today. Yes, thank you, everyone. Oh, that looks
Hi,
so
everybody.
good.
Wow, she really knows how to get a crowd going, you know?
We've been doing this
This
a
would be fun if
while,
we were in
so
person.
it would.
So lovely to meet all of you virtually. As I think, as along with everybody else, I feel like I've spent the last year and a half here in front of my screen, not doing much else. Teaching a lot and casting a lot on Zoom these days. But yeah, to let you know how I sort of got into this is it was kind of by accident. I was heading one direction, and I started working part-time when I was going to university for an animation company. And I started out as a recording assistant. So I spent a lot of hours taking notes in the studio. And then I started helping with casting. And then I started covering ADR sessions and pickup sessions. And then the next thing I knew, I was voice directing. So it was one of those things that evolved over the 90s, basically. And so yeah, like I say, it's not really where I was heading, but it's kind of where I ended up. I just kind of found I enjoyed it more than what I was doing elsewhere. So it's kind of where I ended up going, and I've been here ever since. I started out with animation, and I also cast on camera as well. I started doing a friend's feature. I guess we started casting that in 99 or 2000. That was the first on camera thing I did. And then I started doing more and more on camera. And I kind of waffle back and forth between doing on camera stuff and animation stuff. And so I just sort of bounce back and forth. I kind of like the best of both worlds, because sometimes I find, kids in the on camera world, but I think, oh, they'd be great for animation. So I haul them in there. Or kids that were in animation or adults that were in animation go, oh, let's haul them into the on camera world. So it's been kind of fun that way. It's just, playing around, and I like keeping my feet in both pools and seeing what's happening, and just enjoying the adventure. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty
I
much
just
me
want
in
to
a nutshell.
I just want to clarify something. When you were saying that you were going to university for animation, is that what you
No,
said?
no, no, I wasn't. I was
Okay.
actually I was in a program called Media Studies. So I was actually sort of my last project was a video, and it was a documentary.
Oh, that you were
I was
editing or
No, I did the whole thing. It was my final year project. So, I filmed and I actually shot it in Guatemala. So I was doing a documentary. Yeah.
okay,
About,
okay, that you were
about
like
nonprofit.
DP, director, all
Oh,
that kind
oh
of stuff.
yeah. I couldn't afford to take everybody down there. So I did it. I just did it myself.
That's my kind of girl,
Yeah.
everybody. I really hard relate to that. So okay, another just primer question that I think folks might be curious about. Do you do performance? Like, were you doing any voice acting or on-camera acting yourself?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
But I've been hanging out with actors since before that. Before I came here to Toronto to go to university, I'd been working in Banff, Banff Festival of Mountain Films poster over my shoulder. Um, I used to hang out a lot with the actors there, and I used to take them hiking and stuff. And I used to go in and watch the rehearsals. I used to sneak in and watch the rehearsals and stuff. So I was always sort of interested in that aspect of things, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that
I
was
love
working at an
that.
art center sort of, you know, I always sort of was either the jock with the artists or the artist with the jocks. I just sort of waffle back and forth between the two. Yeah.
Hey guys, she likes actors. That's so great for us. We
It would be tough to be in this job and not like actors.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Um, okay, so this is wonderful. All right, so we've got a little bit of a primer, a little bit of backdrop. Yeah, it's great to see everybody. Thanks for joining us. So if you have any questions, we can start to fuel them over to Joanne. Alexis, my friend here, she says that she sees that you worked on Super Y, and my kids used to love that show when they were younger. I was a nanny, and my kids used to love Super Y.
Oh, good,
Uh,
good.
can you tell us what you did for Super Y?
I was, it's bounced around between a bunch of different people. I was the casting director on the first 65, and I directed the first 18 or something. Yeah.
Okay. Can we just start? Let's start really rudimentary. Let's pretend that it's just like I just walked into this universe and I'm really confused. And like, can you just break down what does a casting director do?
All right. So casting director has to find the talent. So basically, you know, we get the information, often a Bible or a breakdown from the uh, production company. And then we have to go out and find the voices. So it's a matter of sending out a breakdown. So you guys, I think most of you have a background in radio and that this more commercial side of things, right? Nods yes. uh, so it's the
We
same
got
idea.
we yeah. I was
Sorry.
just gonna say, yeah, in this space we've got audiobook narrators, we've got we do a lot of there's people who do medical narration, corporate narration,
So you
certainly
can
lots
get
of commercial
breakdowns for that,
VO.
right? You know, that you bid on basically for that sort of thing. This is the same idea. So we do a breakdown. So it'll be, you know, we say who's doing it, the production company, who's going to be airing it. If, you know, usually we know that ahead of time. And, you know, then we send out, you know, a synopsis of the show, what age group it's for, and a list of the characters and a description of them. And I send that out to agents, and they send me back in submissions. So in the before days, I would do in-person auditions, which I still kind of prefer, because you get to work with people more than, because when I get a self-tape, it's hard to know how much production went into it, how much work it took to get there. But so yeah, so your agent will, you know, send it out to you, and you, they'll either tell you what characters to do, or you'll say what characters you want to do, and then I get self tapes now. And so, you know, it's a matter of going through those and figuring out what works, and then shortlisting that and doing callbacks. So
Mm,
it can be very long and very involved, depending on the show.
mm,
And
mm.
if it's dealing with names, that's often negotiated beforehand. You know, and we may end up doing guide track, which, you know, we've done before, guide track of voices, and then they end up replacing them with stars, and they get sort of put in later. So yeah, it's a process, and it can take a long time, because it's not just getting the director happy or the producer happy, but it's also getting, almost everything is a co-production these days. So there's multiple producers. There may be more than one director, and then there's broadcasters. And so it's a matter of keeping everyone happy. So it's often not anyone's first choice that gets a role, but it's everybody's second choice, the one that they can settle on.
Mhm.
And when you're building the cast, it's also a matter of going through and going, okay, we like these two voices, but they sound too much alike. So
Mm.
how do we either make them different, or do we change one person out for our second choice? because, the voices have to be distinct. So it
Okay,
can get very complicated.
let's remember that when you're like, why did I get rejected? It literally might be like your voice was too similar to someone else that was already involved. This is
Yeah.
arbitrary feelings sometimes. Um, when for the breakdown that you're talking about, do you create these breakdowns?
Uh, yeah, sometimes and sometimes no. Sometimes the information is given to me, and sometimes it'll come in the Bible, and I'm extracting stuff from the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And so, does everybody know what a Bible is? Yeah, we got some yes. Any no's? Thumbs down on anybody? Okay, a Bible. Okay, so they'll create a Bible, and what the Bible does is it is a Bible for the show. It's a writer's Bible. It's a pitching Bible. So it goes through and it describes what's the show and what are the elements, what makes the show great, what are the educational objectives, because elements of the show, what kind of plot lines do we have, what kind of characters do we have, and these days they'll be, what groups are we, focusing on hitting, are we making sure that we're being inclusive in this area and that area, and then they'll give, potential plot lines. They might have an example story, and if there are special powers or any kind of, if it's, sort of got a mystical background, it'll go through and it'll list all of the powers or whatever, and the personality traits of the characters and all of that kind of stuff, so that writers, when they see this, can go, okay, so I've got these characters and this is the type of plot, and so this is where we're going from when they're doing story pitches. And so that when they're pitching it to a broadcaster, they can go, oh, it falls in this demographic, it's going for this sort of feel, and sometimes they'll do a sizzle reel or a short demo just to say, this is kind of what the animation style is going to be like, and they'll have images of the characters. And geez, do I have a Bible around? I'm sure I do.
And you're literally saying Bible, like the
Well, yeah,
religious
that's what they call it.
text.
It's the Bible for the show.
Yeah.
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 It
Yeah.
is what everything grows from. And they change. In fact, I do have a Bible handy. Let me
Oh, I love Zoom.
Here was one for a show called Delilah and Julius. This isn't the one I was thinking of. So basically it's got the allies, the enemies, more known enemies. And so it'll have little images of different characters. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it'll go through. So this is just a pitching Bible. Then they'll go through, and this is one of our main characters, and they have all description of what's about her. So they make it interesting, and they'll go through. They've got their teen spy. So here's the spy school, and so they show. So they try to make it as visual as possible for the writers, for the broadcasters. I have another one that's actually really good.
Interesting. It's like, it kind of, I don't know, for my theater people in the house, it kind of reminds me of like dramaturgy and like the dramaturgical like books
Yeah.
you'll get as an act. Yeah.
So you'll get, this is what this girl looks like, and this is, her background. And I can't find the one that I was thinking of, but these ones are pretty slick. These ones actually are what came later for selling, but I wouldn't have got the slick looking versions in the beginning. I would have got like a PDF with the same information. But this is slicked up for, that's what they would have taken to a sales table when they go to MIPCOM or one of the other big sales. Yeah, often I get something that's slightly before that. But yeah, and sometimes they'll change. I was going to show you one, but I can't quite see it because it was a show that started out when I got the pitch Bible. It was all 2D characters. But by the time we recorded, it had switched and the designs had changed and they were now 3D. And some of the characters looked drastically different from what I was casting from, right? They were much more sophisticated looking than the 2D sort of more innocent. It was one called Urban Vermin. It was about raccoons. And, there was the GLF, the Garbage Liberation Front, because the evil brother was, hoarding all the garbage from all the vermin in the neighborhood. Very urban tale, right? So those are the sorts of things we work from. And now with the way breakdowns work, we can send images and stuff out. Back in the old days, it used to be, 20 years ago, people would come early for sides. So I would have the wall of wherever I was doing the auditions, and there would be pictures and piles of sides, and you would come early for sides, and you look at all the images and the characters, and you would get that. Now we can send that out virtually, right?
So cool. Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
you get an image, we can put that up, we can put the description up, and all of that goes out. So it's changed, it's evolved over the last 25 years. The way we send stuff out and the way you get it, you know, you had to come early for sides in the days before everybody had email. Yes, I remember those days.
It's okay. If David were here, I'd make lots of jokes about his pet dinosaurs. But so Tony is asking, I mean, this is a pretty broad question. And so
Okay.
I guess maybe I want to try to distill it for you. Tony is asking, what are you looking for when casting for animation? And I guess I want to maybe if I can distill that to say like you're obviously looking for very different things, but are there a few things that when you like let's say when you receive audio auditions, right? Are there a few things that would make you just like cut that person out from your mix?
Yeah, I mean, because it's about acting. And so we'll get some that just feels like somebody's reading, right? So that's not going to bring a character to life. So it's about, for me, when I'm listening to things, I'm often looking at the image going, does that voice sound like it'd come out of this character or not? Right. And when I'm casting in the studio, I often have a picture of the characters up going, yeah, no, that doesn't, yeah, maybe that character. So there's often that it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you sound like that character. And so, and that happens a lot. People will audition for one thing and we flip into another category because it just doesn't feel like the show. So I think the thing that I'm looking for most um, when I'm listening to auditions is it appropriate for the show? Is it appropriate for the character? Are they hitting the right genre? Do they understand this genre? Does it
Mm.
feel like it works? Because you know it's even like commercials, right? You can't just send in the voice that you want. You have to send in the voice they need because everything comes back to the story. It's all about servicing the story. So it doesn't matter what I like or don't like. Does it work for the story? Well, if I don't like it, that matters. But but it's all about servicing the story, right? It's about trying to make all of those producers, broadcasters, directors happy. Am I finding what they want? Because we will have had discussions about what they want, what they're looking for, what the tone of the show is, right?
Mm.
And so you have to be hitting the right tone for the show. You have to be hitting the right character for the show. If you come in on a show that is a straighter show and you come in totally charactery and you know, that's not going to work, right? Or if you come in on a comedic character and you're speaking like, you know, everything's flat, you know, that's not going to work. So it's about what's appropriate for the character, what services the story, right?
Yes, this goes back to actually, David would totally echo everything you're saying. How he always talks about like it's about what the client wants and not what you think sounds good, even though you like, I'm in love with the sound of my voice. I hope you all are because I wish that amount of confidence upon each of you. But it's also like, what is this thing that I'm auditioning for and do I fit into the world? I don't know if anybody's done any voice match auditions, but that's a real labor of a good practice for that very thing. I did that for the Powerpuff Girls when I voice matched Buttercup, and I really like thought I was like, I mean, I'm a fan of that universe, obviously, so it wasn't like weird for me to get into, but it's a nice practice to kind of consider this specific universe that I'm entering um, yeah, as I do this job, and I think that's just great advice, Joanne. I mean, I think that's important to think about for everything we audition for, and specifically for animation of like do I do I understand these characters? Does this feel
Mm-hmm.
familiar for me? Or do I just think this is cool and I would like to do it because I just think it looks cool? Or like what is it about this that is cool that
Yeah.
I connect to personally so that I could be a part of it in a way that benefits the project, right?
Yeah.
Not just because I want to do it.
Um,
And also, yeah, go ahead,
I was
Joanne.
gonna say, and if it's the second season of something and or it's already out there, I'm sure you can track it down on YouTube and watch a bit. You know,
Mm,
find out the tone of the show. Look at the style
totally.
of the characters. Yeah.
Because sometimes they're weird. There's some weird cartoons out there.
Oh yeah.
Um, so this is an interesting question, and I guess to sort of expand it, it's from Michael. Hey, Michael. He's asking about is this kind of work something that can be, I'm also going to say is done from home studios these days? Like, have you been working shows where people have been recording everything from their home studio
Yeah.
and sending those? Okay, can you tell
No,
us a little
well,
bit
they
about
don't
that?
send it in. We actually hook them up through Source Connect.
Source
And
Connect,
then
baby.
we're on Zoom, and they're on, like we'll either Zoom or Source Connect, depending on the situation. And yeah, I just, we were finishing up a series, the last episode about a week ago, and it was a combination of people that came in and people that use Source Connect.
Oh,
Um,
wow. And
because, yeah, sorry.
yeah, where were your source connectors? Were they
Oh, it was a
international?
regular cast because this was, a continuation of a show that's been going on for a while. And so we usually, and I'll be honest, I don't like having to do it this way. I would prefer to have my cast in the studio because I like to record ensemble, because I like to not have everybody. This is great that we've been able to continue stuff on this way, but I really prefer actors not having to work in a vacuum, of just having one voice being in and not knowing who they're interacting with. And it's twice as much work for us to figure out if things work because they're not together. Now, there's certain shows that you have to do them separately, especially kids, because they need more help or they get easily distracted. But I really like ensemble. I think I'm part
Do
of a
you,
dying breed, but I like having
okay,
everybody together.
that's my follow-up. So do you think, particularly after, in the current world we live in, do you think that there will be more and more Source Connect, like people auditioning and getting cast and then doing their roles remotely, as it were?
I will say that it probably will happen a bit more or be accepted a bit more, but honest to God, most of the actors were just dying to get back in the studio. They're tired of being alone. They want to be back with everybody because honestly, it's a bit of a party. When we're recording animation, the Urban Vermin one that I mentioned, we had like 7 or 8 guys in the studio. Got a little sweaty in there, but they had fun. And so it was, I was always going, okay, shut up, we got to do another take, because they were, as soon as we finished the take, we'd be in the booth choosing takes and deciding what we were going to pick up, and they're just chatting up a storm because they get to hang out with their friends. So it's a social thing. So they do miss their friends and they do want to get back in the studio. And I think it's really good for the show because there's so much stuff that happens in the room. There's playful things that happen between characters that we end up playing up and just letting them riff, which you can't let people riff when they're isolated. Well, you can let them riff, but they've got nothing to riff off when they're isolated. So will it continue? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will. Is it a little more accepted now? It always did happen a bit. And now it's going to be accepted more, and more people have put money into their home studios and have gotten better mics and that sort of thing, and are understanding that you need to, have certain sound quality, et cetera, et cetera. Because a lot of times in the before times, it's people just didn't have the equipment at home. And so that would make it more difficult. But yeah, now there's alternatives. So yes, I think, and it'll be great for, I live in Canada, and well, for those of you in New York, you know what snowstorms are in the winter. And there's times where we've had to cancel because nobody can make it in. Now we still need our engineer to go in. Poor Jeff. We still need our engineer to go in. But everybody else that has Source Connected home, we could probably continue with. So it's good, and it will continue, I'm sure, but I don't think it will completely overtake studio work, because it's there's so much more work you can do when you're in person, and play around with more, and especially for I'm not quite sure how the SAG rules work, but for the actor rules, which are the Canadian Union, and I think it's a similar deal for you guys. It's for secondary characters, it's cheaper to have one of your existing cast do a secondary character because it comes at half the price. Is that the same for you, Siobhan?
Yes, yes. certainly keeping it in the family has been, you know,
It
that's
it's
how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of that we'll just decide on the day. We'll think, okay, so James will probably be able to do that, and Adam can probably do that one. Rob can probably do this one. And we'll just try them out on the day and see which one works. We'll do a quick audition. Okay, you get this one, you get that one, you get this one, and off we go. And so we'll do secondary characters like that quite often. These are for smaller roles. For bigger roles, we'll usually audition, but it's just cheaper. And so doing that sort of ensemble and being able to quickly go, yeah, that works better. That sort of thing is just, economical and quick to do that way. And so it's a little tougher to do if you're doing one at a time and remotely. Not impossible,
Does
you know.
does what a person looks like, physical appearance, does that influence who you cast
No,
for the roles? Okay. Okay.
except for these days, the ethnicity issues. Like sometimes they want specific ethnicities. Do I care what they look like? No. For certain shows, for certain roles, they want specific ethnicities. Absolutely. But do I care what you look like? No.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Hey,
think
I over the years we've had more, mums come in, and they got spit up on them or whatever, but they know it's animation, so they don't have to clean up because they'll just come in, do the role, and then be able to go home. Or I've recorded with bouncing a baby on my lap more than once. Um,
yes.
you know, uh,
Yes.
Studios tend to be kid and dog friendly. So for as much as is possible, and being within reason that you don't have a child that screams and runs all over the studio, we're usually pretty good about that.
I'm happy for that change. I know I watched some of BoJack Horseman, and I was surprised at how many white actors were playing non-white characters, and I was just like, that
Uh,
seems peculiar, so I think it's a good shift that there's some intentionality that way.
yeah.
But obviously, aliens, animals, what about age? Is age a thing, a changing, because you work with kids a lot. So there are lots of shows that obviously feature children, but we know from my era, Dexter's Laboratory, Rugrats, those were adults, right?
Yep.
Playing
So
these
there,
kids.
so there is the change that there's more kids playing kids. That tends
Yeah.
to be more into the preschool and maybe into the 8 to 12-year-old. I think after that it becomes a bit of a free for all for older shows, because in sort of more the teen and up ages, they need kids that can keep up with the rest of the feel of the show. So they'll often cast adults as kids. I mean, I've cast more 30-year-olds as teenagers too. So it depends on the type of show, right? But yeah, for preschool, it's really a lot of kids playing real kids.
Okay.
And
So
that's
I'm sorry to dash anyone's dreams of playing a preschooler, but it seems like
it,
that's not going to happen.
well,
Yeah.
it's changed, right?
Yeah.
And that I will say I think has come along with the educational influence, like that preschool is much more of an educational zone these days. And so they want kids playing real kids so they can identify with them. I don't think it makes a difference, but I mean, there's still the show that I just finished, Globies, is just starting to air. It was all adults playing kids, so it really depends on the show.
Mm. Yeah.
It really depends on
Yeah.
the show. And I have a wonderful actor friend. She was on the first show I ever worked on. And she can play anything from a 3-year-old kid to an 86-year-old woman with or without teeth. So,
Mm-hmm.
she can play the entire range. She's quite phenomenal.
This is an interesting question from Howard. So Joanne, you know that the world of voiceover right now has so, like, all of our audition listings are like, be authentic, your authentic self, right? Don't be announcery. If you're a woman, sometimes it says don't be annoying, but we'll talk about that another time. But so, right, you've got like authentic voices, and so does this sort of like authenticity, is this also finding its way in casting for animation, or fictional animation is particularly what Howard asked, but would you find that you're looking for like authenticity, or does character work sort of just like kick
It
that concept out the
really
door?
depends on the show. I think you'll
Yeah.
notice that with a lot of big features, it's very much authentic voices. with a smattering of goofy, but they'll, use people's real voices. And when they're using stars or whatever, because a lot of the stars don't really do character voices. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't.
Mm.
When they're getting big names in, so they're going for their actual voice, and then having the characters around them have the charactery voices. So it really
Mm.
depends. It really depends. It's just there's no one answer to that, because there's so many different avenues for animation these days, and age groups, and genres. So some, yes, are kind of that direction, but honestly, kind of being goofy is the fun part. Right? So I hope we don't go into so authentic that we lose what animation was, which is just somewhere to be goofy and fun. Like, I'm sorry, I grew up on the Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner hour and the Flintstones, so like,
You
I
know,
like it goofy.
it's interesting because it makes me think of I trained at Edge with Jay Snyder, our the voice of Yugi. Yeah, and for Yu-Gi-Oh! And when we developed voices, a lot of what we talked about was like even in a 90-second demo, each character has like a little journey.
Yeah.
And sort of right, even in your tiny little spot. And we were kind of creating, it was wonderful, of course, as someone who loves this create super creative aspect, but to kind of create each journey even in your spot of like who this character is and what they're struggling with, so if they're goofy or silly, or they also have this other thing, or if they're a villain because of something that has happened to them, whatever, right? And
Mhm.
so I think perhaps there's that authenticity is in that your character is not shallow even in your
Oh,
submission,
yes,
just
yeah, as
right.
opposed to authentic voices and motivation. Yeah. Oh, well,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You have to find a way to connect to the character, and yeah, well, that's about acting. That's
Mm,
simply just the acting aspect. I mean, because animation isn't about your voice, it's about what you do with it.
mm,
And so it's about your journey into finding a character, and is this a sweet little character, is this an evil character? It's so finding that, and how do you change up your voice, and what is going on with the character. And yeah, it's
yeah.
totally about their journey. Yeah, it's
Yes.
the same thing that I'd be talking about in a non-camera class.
Yes. Yes. Dina is asking about casting for 30 plus year olds as 30 plus year olds. How's that looking?
Oh,
um
well, those are uh, you mean playing your age? That's such a foreign concept in animation, playing your age. Why would you do that? Is you could go do anything. Yeah, there are 30-year-olds. They usually end up being the mom roles or the evil roles in a lot of cases. I mean, but yeah, there are those roles out there. But don't restrict yourself. You know, yes, you're 30 something. What can you do with your voice? Can you sound 60? Can you be evil? It's not about the age. It's about, like I said, what you do with it, right?
mm,
When we were doing an action adventure series a few years back, the teenagers, with the exception of one, he was about 18 when we started, and the rest were in their 30s, and they were playing teenagers, because the teenagers, for the most part, um, couldn't keep up the pace and the intention. They weren't strong enough actors to pull it off. So often we have older
mm.
playing younger, just because they've got the experience. So even with preschool shows, the kids that are playing 5, 6, 7 are 10, 11, 12.
Well, as
Sometimes they're
with Jay
7 and 8 year olds,
Snyder,
but it's all about how good their reading skills are, right? And then you got to get them past the reading and into the acting.
yeah, yeah, as with Jay Snyder playing both ages of Yugi in
Yeah,
Yu-Gi-Oh! Like that's like he has the yeah, with experience you have a little bit more nuance and you can add a little more color to your character. Um,
absolutely.
uh, uh-oh, no
Fun
one
time's over,
say
folks.
yeah, no one say anything. Low key. All right, let me find. He may not have even connected to audio yet. I am making a co-host of David Goldberg is in the house.
Hey
Welcome.
guys.
Hey, he's back.
Cool. We're behaving now. Don't worry. What? It's great to see you. Hi. Yeah. We're just really like deep in it, David. So I'm just gonna throw in another question just for the sake of keeping this train going. But
Yeah,
we're
great.
having yeah, we're having an awesome time. Okay. So let me go. We love the artwork here. So there was a question as I'm going back up. I'm going all over the place a little bit here because we're sort of getting into the weeds of things. But so I guess people are asking, I mean, this is another broad question, but Joanne, people are asking where folks go to audition for animation roles. I mean, do you primarily work with agents specifically, or how does the casting process work for you?
So yes, primarily with agents, but not exclusively with agents. Um, I primarily use a system called the casting workbook. Um, and with that, I can send out to agents. I can also send out to actors. And so that will be to people that don't have agents as well, to people that do, but also don't have agents. So it depends on what is in your area, what kind of uh, casting systems are available. Breakdown services, I know, is one that is often used in the US. I'm not familiar with the British ones. I did use one once for something. That was a while back. But yeah, and so it really depends what I'm looking for. But sometimes we'll put out something on, there's a thing called eBoss Canada that we use. But I know I've actually advertised on Backstage for one project. So it depends. So you have to sort of look at what is out there in your neighborhood. And Mandy, I think, is in the States as well, mandy.com. Yeah. And so there's that gets used as well. So there's lots of different forums. And yeah, they go out through those as well. It really depends on the show, whether it is going to be union or non-union. And most of the stuff I end up working on is union. And so, I need to stick to going through agents. But yeah, if it isn't, then we spread a wider net. And even sometimes when it's union, and especially if it's kids, and we're looking for specific ethnicities and stuff for different roles, then we have to spread a wider net that way. And so we'll go out through alternate services.
We're actually friends with Mandy.com. So I'll put on Twitter our we have a little discount of through them to get you signed up because they are very nice people. And so that's really cool. Alexis is asking, jumping all over the place. Alexis, I hope she's still there. She is. Okay, great. Just looking for my friend. She's asking, if someone doesn't have a lot of acting experience, what kinds of steps do you recommend?
Well, one thing that I kind of recommend for both voice and on camera people is take an improv class, because it's really about listening. And I think listening is one of the biggest skills that actors forget. And it's really important. But take some voice classes, take some acting classes, just to get those skills up. And I think improv is a really an important thing to take, because it is so much about listening. And I teach on camera classes as well, and it's just so difficult when they're just reading their lines and not listening to it. It's like act, 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 act. And the same thing happens with voice. Is you've got to be telling stories. So if you've got kids in your life, grab their books and tell them stories, because if you can make them laugh or make them pay attention, that's really huge, right? Play all the parts, get into it. Don't be afraid to look silly, because I'll tell you, animation actors are not standing still in the studio. They'll be wiggling their little butts about all over the place, getting into things, and the funnest thing to do is make stupid noises and do the wall apart. Oof. So that's that kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly, Geddes. So being silly and stupid, if you are self-conscious, you're in the wrong business. So you got to be able to just let your hair down and be stupid, frankly, and not be afraid to get into the role. So if you've got kids in your life, tell them stories, read their books, and try to play all the parts and find voices and characters and figure out who they are. It's all about storytelling.
So let me add on to that. if you have kids in your life, you can also use them at the microphone. We were working on a cartoon soundtrack at some point, and the character, this voice actor, needed to pick up a super heavy tree, and his grunting just didn't sound realistic. And he said, "Who's the smallest person in your office?" And we had an intern at that moment who probably weighed about like 62 pounds, like this tiny little young, like high school kid. So he said, "Come on over here," and he lifted her to emulate or simulate the tree, right?
Yeah,
And it caused him to grunt, and it was so realistic sounding. And
perfect.
so yeah, that was great.
Oh yeah, doing walla sounds is well, it's fun. When I'm doing kids, it's always fun because I'll go, okay, what does a pirate sound like? Arr! You know, it gets them excited and going, and it gets the adrenaline up and keeps them interested. And so, we do pirate stuff, and we'll do falling and all that kind of stuff. And I do that with adults too. Maybe not so much on the pirate stuff; they don't really get excited about going arr. Kids do. But yeah, so it's about telling stories, and it's about telling it with your whole body.
I will also throw in maybe a tip for everyone or a technique that sometimes kids think differently than we do.
Mm.
And we are so, I don't know, we have preconceived notions of what things sound like and look like. And sometimes if you ask a real young child who hasn't been around that long, like what would an animal sound like, or what kind of sound effect would something make, they may have a very different response. We were casting once for a children's project, and a whole series of very young kids came in, 5, 6, 7 year olds. And I remember the casting director was asking each kid one at a time at the microphone, okay, let me hear a cow, let me hear a pig. And this one kid, this one girl, I think it was, had just terrific sound effects. And at one point, the casting director tried to pretty much trick her and said, so, okay, what does the cow sound like? Great. What does the pig sound like? What does the dog sound like? And then she said, what about a giraffe? What does a giraffe sound like? And without thinking about it, the kid said, chomp, chomp, chomp. And I don't think that most adults would ever think of that. I think most adults would say, I don't think a giraffe makes any sound, or I'm not sure what
You
it
know
is.
what? I think I know where that came from. And that response, do you guys remember that Wrigley spearmint gum ad, or the double mint gum, and where they said people look like their pets? And they had this close up. There was they showed a woman chewing, and then they showed a giraffe chewing, because when you said that, that's what I thought of, was this giraffe chewing from this
So
ad.
smart of her to, maybe she copied it, but still, you
Yeah.
can rely on kids to give you more ideas.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The point is, if you have kids around, you can use them in lots of ways.
They're guinea pigs.
Okay, that's another quote from David Goldberg, my dear
Out
friend.
of context, that's not a good thing. No.
Yeah, got him. Uh, so, I mean, yes, I'm curious, I guess, just to sort of wrap up, because I know, Joanne, I was telling you before we started that this is a very international and national group of voice actors in this space today. And one of the things I'm thinking about as we're talking and thinking about them, like I know we've got people in Chicago, we've got people in California, all over California, we've got people in the Pacific Northwest, in the Midwest, and the East. So like what are the options for this industry for people all over the place? The UK, I mean, do we need to all move to, gosh, is it Dallas where Funimation is? Like, do we have to move to Dallas? Like, what's the deal? Like, can you just like tell us if from at least now you're one person of a, a lot of people in this industry. So like whatever, right? This is just you specifically. But what's your take or understanding of the opportunities for people considering the global capacity of the folks in this space today?
Wow, that's a big question.
I'm sorry.
Where do you start with that? Well, there's a lot of opportunity out there, but there's a lot of competition out there too. So yeah, I mean, Funimation, yeah, Dallas or Austin, one of those two. So I think animation is a little bit all over the world. So there are opportunities in Britain. I mean, I've been talking with a company in India. So there's opportunities all over. It's finding them. And I think it's going to be different. And some of them are going to be union and some of them could be non-union. So you've got to go through the Mandy's and all of that sort of thing in whatever those, and there's so many of them. I just don't know what's all in your neighborhood, but Backstage and all of those, look for the opportunities that come up. and just really sort of seek them out. Google the animation companies. In Canada, we have for Union, there is, they'll list, what's shooting right now. So you get an idea of who's shooting and where and what. I don't know if SAG has something similar to that you could figure out what's shooting. And even if you are not in on this project, start to look at where are the production companies, where are they, shooting out of, who's casting it. Boy, the other casting directors will hate me. Find out who's casting it, and in what sort of approaches, in what do the, what platforms do they go through, and sort of figure that out and see what opportunities are there. But if you've got the home studio, and like we say, there are more opportunities to work from home these days, look around and see what's available on that. There's lots of stuff out there, and whether it's animation or and I guess it's kind of the same for you guys all that do narration. You're used to looking to specific platforms for that. You've got to find out what specific platforms in your neighborhood, in your country, work for animation. Because I'm just not familiar with internationally what's out there. But it's doing your research, doing your work. And if it might mean calling a few casting directors' office, they will hate me, and saying, what platforms to use? Where do I look for stuff that you post? Right? Just try to figure out where they post.
I can throw in some other thoughts on that. So certainly animation is used in for animated productions, and there's cartoons and talking toys, but there's some other very large areas, such as whiteboard videos and explainer videos. These almost always have some type of animated voice to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so my encouragement would be to sort of look at the casting backward. What happens if you owned a company and you needed to find a voice actor to record an explainer video, right? Where would you look? What would you Google? You'd probably Google something like explainer videos or something like that, or explainer video production. If you take it from that perspective, then you'll end up with lists of companies that produce the explainer videos, and then you can reach out to them. You can look at their websites and reach out to them for potential work with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also want to say, this is my shtick always, but like spinning the wheels is a big part of this industry. And as you expand, and certainly at Edge, we're like, hey, you might get more commercial work before you get something like animation. You might not. And in fact, my first paid gig was a voice match for Powerpuff Girls. And that was a random thing that happened. Some kind of random things happen. And it was, and so I think like, but also I can tell you, I mean, it depends on the kind of life you're living, the work you're doing. But the animated short that I just did was because someone reached out to me from my social network and like knew that I have an animation demo and enjoyed it and was like, would you play this big buff wrestler? And I'm like, I'd love to, and like, or could you, she asked me for some samples, right? Of like, if I were to play this, exactly what Joanne is talking about. So looked at the world that she was creating, and and that was a small thing that I got paid for, but like, is like, what is satisfying for your life? Like, you may not get to be on Super Y, I don't know, but you might get to do a bunch of smaller projects that are also really fulfilling and exciting and color your palette of voiceover for, amidst your corporate narration or whatever it is that we find less fun than, what the kinds of voice actors Joanne works with on a day-to-day basis. But
the other thing too is if you have, look around, see if there's an animation school anywhere near where you are, and volunteer to, if they're doing their final year video, say, hey, are you going to be looking for voices for that? Just to get some experience, right? Because they're often looking, they end up doing their own because they don't have actors. But, if they could find some actors, that would get a little something on your resume, give you a bit of experience. Also, they're going to grow up and hopefully get more jobs, and maybe they'll remember that you helped them out in their final year video sort of thing. Because I ended up doing some casting for a friend of mine that was teaching at an animation school here, Max the Mutt, and had to do some casting, and they had problems finding people, so I just went in as a favor to help them out and did some casting. And so they needed people, and so it would have been great if people had volunteered, say, hey, if you need them, here's my little demo, here's the sorts of things I can do. Send it off and see if they need anybody.
And I wanted to really quickly. I know we're wrapping up here. We started a couple minutes late because Joanne and I were hanging out and having because I just got to meet her today too. So I'm also, just feeling special. But I just want to ask you really quickly before we move on, or before we wrap, as it were,
Mhm.
that so my friends, our class is sold out with Joanne because obviously look at her, she's incredible. But can you tell us a little bit about your practice as an educator, and just tell us the kinds of thing, what your class is about. You were talking to me about breakout rooms. She's doing it on Zoom. She's kicked down the door for us at Edge Studio for beyond beyond Siobhan sessions. We do have we're on the Zoom. But can you tell us a little bit about your work as an educator in this industry and what you kind
Sure.
of what you're yeah.
Sure, I guess, so I'll sort of be breaking things down into different genres and working on sort of one genre at a time. And because a class is going to have 12 people in it, I like to keep people active and working and not just listening to me talk because, hey, that'll get boring fast. But so I like to keep people working. So, what I'll do is bring in sides and have people, break out into, if I got 12, I'll break them out into groups of 2, and they can take turns working on the main character and reading for one another, and I can just pop through and see how people are doing and listening to what's going on, and so they can get more individual attention while they're practicing, because I just like to keep it moving, because I like to keep people engaged and learning and practicing. I think it's good to be hands-on, or voice on in this case, and so I like to keep people. I do most talking in the first class, sorry guys, but and then try to get you guys as active as possible and working on it together, and then coming back and doing it as an audition style for me, after, and so we can practice and we can work on, is the approach right for this age category, for this kind of character, blah blah blah, and so we go in and try to connect to the characters that way. But I'd like to keep you moving and engaged the whole time. So that's what I like to do.
Well, I personally feel that I would be fine with just listening to you talk for hours, but I appreciate your integrated approach to this work. David, we're happy that you popped in, surprise, surprise, for not surprise. I told them you might join us. So any closing remarks on your end, David, while we close out today?
Yeah, very briefly, some other ways to market for animation work and stuff. Go to conferences, guys. There are almost always video game conferences around, and app conferences and corporate conferences. Your local chamber of commerce has lots of companies who probably have explainer videos and whiteboard videos. You can make it happen. And like Joanne said, there is an insane amount of animation work out there. But a lot of the companies that require animated voice actors don't go through the traditional channels of going to a casting agent because they might be one-off projects. For example, a company that has the explainer video, they have one need for one voice actor for one video for their website. So maybe you need to reach out to website developers, right? Reach out to them. And so go to a website conference and look at all of the website development companies and hand out your business card, talk with them, and when you do that, and as many of you have heard me say in past, don't focus on selling yourself. Don't say, "Hey, I'm a voice actor. I'd like to work with your company." Rather, explore possibilities, explore potential relationships with them. Say, "Look, your company looks great. You put out some great products. I happen to record narration for projects like yours. Let's pick a time after this conference, after you've wrapped up the conference a week later, and just explore. Let's see if it makes sense to work together and build a relationship."
Mhm.
And you can get a lot of work that route. Otherwise, I'm happy I got in today, and it was good seeing all of you. Joanne, what I heard from you was fantastic. Same with you, Siobhan. You're always rocking the uh, the call, and so thanks everyone.
Rocking the
Well,
flower.
yeah,
Yeah, rocking the
rocking the
flower. Yeah.
yeah, a little snap cam filter for y'all today.
Well, I
Super
can barely
wonderful.
see the flower. I'm trying so hard to look at the camera over here and not at Siobhan. It's like that way. Like I feel like awkward if I keep turning around, so I'm staring at the camera. I did see a
David,
glimpse of
you're
the
not.
flower. It's fun.
Thank you. You got a
Hey,
glimpse.
wait,
Okay.
Siobhan.
Yes.
Weren't we all supposed to wear the cat ears this time?
I know. Okay, I'm in New York. I don't have my cat. My cat ears are in Los
Uh,
Angeles, but I also don't see my cats in the crowd. So I have to tell them.
You just
We
killed
had a
Howard.
couple. We had a couple of Razer Kraken like kitty headphones, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
own them. But like I don't know where those people are. It was funny. There were two, and one of them knew the dance. Anyway, I have to go to Twitter and be like, "Where are my cats?" Because the kids, yeah, we got to come back and do that thing. But yes, no, I brought the noise. I have the noise canceling one. I was like, I can only bring one, and this is better for the busy world outside. So oh my gosh, Rosemary, it's great to see you. Dean. So okay, what I wanted to say is Joanne, thank you for joining us. I know I kind of say this often, but this hour is something we just offer just to the community for us to be together. And so this is donated time on Joanne's part to be with us. And it's a wonderful and gracious thing for her to do, especially when her class is, totally full already. So it's like extra I just wanted to remark on what a lovely human she is, and that we're grateful to have her. And we're doing our Up Twinkles Jazz Fingers, and yeah, silent applause in the Zoom for you, Joanne.
You got them
Any
well
closing
trained.
we do. Any closing remarks on your end? This was such an informative session. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. It was just lovely to meet everybody, and well, as much as you can meet people on Zoom, but lovely chatting with you. Thank you for the questions. I hope I see some of you in the class, and take care, everybody. Jazz hands.
Jazz hands, thank you. And y'all, we don't have our yes, they're so good. Again, as always, our private coaching, we do have the $25 off code. If you're totally new to us, that works for any coach here at Edge Studio. You can also use that same code if you want to work directly with Mr. Goldberg, who's here who swept in at the end in true superhero fashion. I'm really trying to. I love beating a joke to the ground, y'all. That's something that I'm good at. We do have our free resource center if you are not signed up for our audition contests or any fun things like that. If you are totally new to voiceover, our Investigate Voiceover class is a really good place to start that would not frighten you. I promise. We do have, okay, I just got an LO love from James Andrews in the house. I'm so happy you're here, James. You don't have your camera on, but I love you and I miss you very much. I also just want you all to know that Dina's husband did deliver her latte. So that's real. Finally happened within the hour. I'm really glad in her booth as well. It really brings me joy. Okay, also, we've got this foundation studies bundle. I don't know if you guys have seen this thing. We have this really righteous package for 6 classes for my folks who are figuring things out, which we accept. We love you for wherever you're at in your process at this point. Congrats to Dina. Oh my God, you guys are very funny. Charles, you're so sweet. This is the best way to invest an hour. We appreciate you. Thanks for saying that. Oh, James, yeah, I don't see you, but oh my gosh, there you are. Hi. Hey. Okay, one of our coaches, actually, we got double Canada in the house right
Yeah.
now because,
Good
yeah,
news.
right. You all know each other. Okay, cool. This is wonderful. Wow, I'm feeling emotional at the end. Okay, cool. But no one is surprised by that. That's me with you all. There you are. Okay, Joanne, thank you. You're amazing. David, it's great to see you. James Andrews, wonderful surprise for me personally. For anybody who knows him, he's such a delight. I need you to come back and do this with me, James. I'll send you an email actually very soon. Okay, so that being said, this is being recorded. I will post it. It'll be up tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Oh my gosh, I don't understand time and space. I am so happy to spend this time with you. Joanne, you're such a delight. Thanks for being with us. Stephanie, you
Thank
look
you.
great. Dave, it's good to see you. Yaya, your lipstick is fire. Howard, your pink lighting gives me life. We're having our reunion party, I've decided, in the UK. Devin is beautiful. We're going to get that cream tea. Okay. John in Brooklyn, hope you have a great afternoon. Getty's, your home studio is looking fire. We love to see it. Alexis, thanks for the daisies, as always. Okay, Cleon, keep it real. Tim, I hope that fan is keeping you from being too hot because I know it's hot outside. Mwah! You all are great. See you. Oh, it's just me and David. Hopefully he is there the whole time because otherwise it's just me. Woo! And that is going to be on July 8th. So we will see you then. Uh, Sending lots of love to everyone, and I hope you have a great afternoon, morning, evening, and night. Yep, hearts. Love to see that. Mwah. Be well. Farewell, guys.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.